There is a war in your backyard every summer, and you are losing it. Not because the bugs are too strong, because nobody told you the rules. The commercial insect control industry is built on one premise that you need their products to solve a problem nature already solved for free. Sprays, candles, zappers, foggers, and the bugs come back. What they will never tell you is that 12 plants produce compounds so potent that peer-reviewed science has documented complete mosquito repellency lasting 8 or more hours. Not a reduction. Complete. Today we cover all 12, the cultivars that work, the science behind each compound, and why none of this ever appears on a nursery tag. Plant 1. Sweet basil, the plant that doubles as dinner. The mistake: one pot on the patio table, one pot is a garnish. 3 pots of Ocimum basilicum genovese in a tight triangle is a defense zone. The nursery tag will never explain this because understanding the system means you buy 3 once and stop coming back. Picture this. July, one basil pot near the grill, mosquitoes arrive at dusk. Year 2, same pot, same failure. Year 3, you cluster 3 together. The difference is immediate. Genovese emits eugenol and linalool continuously without being touched. Iowa State University Extension confirms linalool disrupts mosquito olfactory receptors within a 2-meter radius of live plants. The suppression angle: basil is sold as a culinary herb. The 3-pot triangle ends repeat purchases. Learn it once and stop returning each season wondering why 1 pot failed. The correct move: 3 Genovese or spicy globe pots within 30 centimeters of each other, zones 3 through 10. Harvest outer leaves every 10 days for high oil new growth. Linalool peaks in fresh tissue. Zone 9 and 10, year round. Zones 3 through 5, start indoors 6 weeks before last frost. University of Florida, YFAS extension documents basil eugenol effective against Aedes aegypti, the primary dengue vector. Bottom line: 3 pots of Genovese in triangle formation delivers documented 2-meter coverage and costs less than 1 season of citronella candles. Basil is annual in most climates. The next plant is a cold-hardy perennial that Iowa State University confirmed in 2001 is 10 times more effective than DEET. No tag says so. Plant 2. Catnip, 10 times more effective than DEET. Not catmint. The distinction is everything. Nepidocateria produces nepidolactone at repellent concentrations. Nepeta X fossanii, the ornamental catmint in every garden center, was bred for flowers, and its nepidolactone content is a fraction of the real plant. The tags rarely distinguish between them. Iowa State University researchers confirmed in 2001 that Nepidocateria nepidolactone is approximately 10 times more effective than DEET at equivalent concentrations. That data has been public for over 2 decades and does not appear on nursery tags. Picture this. You buy labeled catmint. Year 1, beautiful in the border. Year 2, it returns. Year 3, you have a full patch and mosquitoes still arrive every evening. The ornamental had nepidolactone bred out for longer bloom time. Nobody told you the difference. The suppression angle: Nepidocateria is rangy, and once planted, you never buy it again. Ornamental cultivars are better sellers. That one commercial calculation buried 20 years of documented science. The correct move: source Nepidocateria. Specifically, not Nepeta X phaeacini. Full sun, zones 3 through 9. Contain it in raised beds as it spreads. Bottom line: Nepidocateria at 10 times DEET efficacy is documented science. The ornamental substitute the nursery sells you is not the same plant. Catnip delivers nepidolactone repellency. The next plant provides 8 uninterrupted documented hours of complete protection. The compound both the perfume and insect control industries profit from commercially. Plant 3, lavender. 8 hours of documented complete repellency. The mistake, any lavender variety. The variety is everything. Lavandula, angustifolia, Hidcote, and Munstead are RHS Award of Garden Merit cultivars grown for high linalool and linalool acetate content. Lavandula X Intermedia Grosso, the commercial perfume industry standard, produces the highest oil volume of any cultivar. The generic nursery flat gives you variable oil content. The Journal of Infectious Diseases published research documenting complete repellency for 8 hours from lavender oil. Linalool and linalool acetate bind mosquito olfactory receptors, disabling the navigation system they use to locate you. Picture this. You plant generic lavender along a sunny path. Year 1, it blooms. Year 2, it spreads. Year 3, you have a substantial planting and still get bitten. Generic lavender may produce a third of the linalool that Hidcote produces. The tag says lavender. The biology is completely different. The suppression angle, explaining which cultivar means selling one specific plant instead of whatever is in stock. That margin calculation keeps the information off the tag. The correct move, plant Hidcote or Munstead in zones 5 through 8, Grosso in zones 6 through 9. Full sun, sharp drainage, low fertility soil. High fertility reduces essential oil concentration. Bottom line, Hidcote lavender in full sun. Lean soil delivers 8-hour documented repellency. Generic lavender from a mixed flat does not. Lavender delivers 8 hours in dry full sun. The next plant thrives in partial shade and moist soil, with active compound measured at 38% of its dry weight. No label mentions it. Plant 4, lemon balm, 38% citronellol by dry weight. The mistake, treating it is a tea herb. Melissa officinalis, specifically Quedlinburger niederliegende, carries citronellol at 38% of its dry weight. Citronellol is the active compound in commercial citronella products, sitting in your lemon balm right now at concentrations no candle matches. Picture this. You grow lemon balm for tea. Year 2, you have a large planting. Year 3, you give divisions to neighbors. Meanwhile, you buy citronella candles every summer. Spending money on a compound you are already growing with zero awareness. The tag says lemon tea herb. The suppression angle. Lemon balm is a plant you buy once, divide indefinitely, and never purchase again. Commercial citronella products are recurring purchases. This knowledge collapses that revenue stream permanently. The correct move? Grow Melissa officinalis Quedlinburger niederliegende in containers near seeding, zones 4 through 9. Crush leaves and apply to skin before sitting outside. A 2003 study rated lemon balm oil at 0.71 efficacy compared to DEET at equivalent dilution. Bottom line, lemon balm at 38% citronellal is a free citronella product you grow once and divide indefinitely. Lemon balm covers moist partial shade where your mosquito problem is typically worst. The next plant targets full sun, dry conditions, deters wasps alongside mosquitoes, and had its receptor identified in 2026. Plant 5. Rosemary, the compound that disables insect navigation, and not just any rosemary. Salvia rosmarinus, Tuscan blue for zones 7 through 10. RP, for zones 5 and 6, cold hardiest documented cultivar, tested to negative 23 degrees Celsius. University of Washington researchers published in Nature Communications in 2026 identifying the OR49 olfactory receptor in mosquitoes as the specific binding target for borneol, the primary compound in rosemary. A 20% Borneol solution delivered 100% protection for 8 hours in trial conditions. Picture this. You grow rosemary as a culinary herb. Year 2, it expands. Year 3, you have a substantial shrub. Mosquitoes still arrive. The connection is never made because rosemary is sold as a kitchen herb, never as a documented insect navigation disruptor. The suppression angle, culinary positioning, sells repeat herb purchases. Insect control positioning ends them. The correct move? Plant Tuscan Blue in full sun, zones 7 through 10. Plant ARP in zones 5 and 6 for cold hardiness to negative 23 Celsius. Prune after flowering for high oil new growth. Bottom line, Salvia rosmarinus, Tuscan Blue, or ARP delivers documented Borneol or 49 receptor inhibition. University of Washington, 2026. That is what your herb garden has been capable of all along. Rosemary covers zones 5 through 10 with documented receptor level action. For cold climate zones and a perennial disrupting mosquito sodium channels alongside olfactory action, the next plant is the commercial lookalike problem. Plant 6. Pyrethrum. Daisy. The plant the cut flower industry replaced with a lookalike. The mistake is in the name on the tag. Chrysanthemum morifolium is the cut flower standard. Looks almost identical to Tanacetum coccineum, the true pyrethrum daisy. Nurseries stock morifolium under tags implying insect repellent properties. The active pyrethrins are in coccineum. They are absent in morifolium. The tag will not tell you this. PLOS 1. Published documentation of pyrethrum's dual target mechanism. Pyrethrins disrupt both OR31 olfactory function and sodium channel gating in mosquito nervous systems simultaneously. Mosquitoes avoid the area, not just you. Picture this. You buy red daisies labeled pyrethrum. Year 1, they bloom. Year 2, they return. Year 3, you have an established planting and still a full mosquito problem. Chrysanthemum morifolium has no pyrethrin content. Tanacetum coccineum was a shelf away at the same price. The suppression angle, morifolium holds better in cut arrangements. Coccineum is the harder commercial sell. The substitution was economic, not horticultural. The correct move, source Tanacetum coccineum specifically, zones 3 through 7, full sun. Divide clumps every 3 years for vigor. Bottom line, Tanacetum coccineum delivers documented dual target insect action. Chrysanthemum morifolium is the ornamental substitute the nursery is more likely to stock. I want to stop and say something directly to anyone who has been gardening for years and still walks inside every summer evening to escape the bugs. That experience is real. It is not because you failed to find the right product. It is because the plants that actually work were labeled as ornamentals, culinary herbs, and tea plants. The commercial model depends on the insect problem remaining unsolved, and feral garden exists to close that gap. So if this research is reaching you for the first time, subscribe right now, because the next 6 plants include the one with 3,000 years of documented deterrence history the tag never mentions, the one kept off shelves by a liability misunderstanding, and the actual industrial source of the citronella in every candle you have ever bought. Pyrethrum provides dual receptor spatial repellency all season. The next plant carries 3,000 years of documented insect deterrence history and is sold today purely as an ornamental. Plant 7, Wormwood, 3,000 years of documented insect deterrence. Artemisia absinthium. Ancient Egyptian agricultural records document its use as an insect deterrent. Roman agricultural texts reference it. 3 millennia of continuous documented use. Sold today as an ornamental foliage plant. The active compounds are thujone and sesquiterpene lactones. volatile, dispersing from silver gray leaves without contact. The deterrent action covers mosquitoes, flies, and wasps simultaneously from one plant. Picture this. You grow wormwood for silver foliage contrast. Year 1, it establishes. Year 2, it is a substantial mounding landmark. Year 3, you are still buying fly traps and citronella candles. The connection is never made because the tag said ornamental foliage, not 3,000 years of documented insect deterrence. The suppression angle, wormwood as an insect deterrent, is pre-commercial knowledge from ancient texts. Commercial gardening cataloged it as ornamental. Ornamental is a recurring sale. Insect deterrent ends recurring product purchases permanently. Important, thuyone is toxic to pets. Plant away from areas that dogs and cats frequent. The correct move, Artemisia, absinthium in full sun, well-drained poor soil, zones 4 through 9. Position upwind of seating where breezes carry volatile compounds across the patio. Bottom line, Artemisia absinthium is 3,000 years of documented insect deterrent sold as an ornamental with no mention of what it was grown for. Wormwood handles 3 insect types in dry full sun zones 4 through 9. For wet clay and whitefly pressure in the vegetable garden, one cultivar name is the entire difference between ornamental and documented tool. Plan 8. French marigold, the cultivar name is everything. The mistake, any marigold flat. Tagetes patula nemagon was specifically documented by University of Florida, the 1FAS. Extension for nematode suppression through alpha, terphenol root exudate. Lemon drop produces documented limonene concentrations shown in PLOS 1 2019 to deter whitefly. Generic flat, ornamental. Named cultivar. Documented defense system. Picture this. You border your vegetable garden with marigolds because you have heard they help. Year 1, cheerful, unclear effect. Year 2, same. Year 3, still buying whitefly spray for the tomatoes. The marigolds photograph well, but were not selected for the compounds addressing your specific pest. The tag says marigold, not which cultivar was documented effective against which pest. The suppression angle, volume sales drive the bedding plant category. Generic flats move in quantities named performance. Cultivars cannot match. Explaining the cultivar distinction requires explaining what the generic flat fails to provide. The correct move, source nemagon for nematode pressure, zones 2 through 11 as an annual. Source lemon drop for whitefly deterrence around tomatoes and peppers. Bottom line, nemagon for nematodes, lemon drop for whitefly. The generic flat does neither. The variety is the entire difference. The marigold cultivar gives you targeted vegetable garden defense. The next plant targets mosquitoes, wasps, and flies from one container. The one property every nursery tag warns about without explaining the upside. Plant 9, peppermint, 3 targets in one container. Mentha ex piperita. The mistake? Planting it in the ground. It will spread aggressively through your entire garden within 2 seasons. Every nursery tag warns about this. What the tag does not tell you. Menthol and menthone target 3 separate insect species simultaneously: mosquitoes, flies, and wasps. University of Minnesota Extension and Ehrlich Pest Control both document peppermint's multi-target repellency. That information is absent from the invasiveness warning. Picture this. You buy peppermint for mojitos and plant it in a corner of the herb bed. Year 1, it occupies its corner. Year 2, it moves into the adjacent bed. Year 3, it threads through your lavender. You spend a weekend digging it out and never once use it as a 3-target insect deterrent because the tag said fragrant herb. Spreads aggressively. Nothing about wasps. The suppression angle, peppermint in a container costs 1 pot. reproduces free indefinitely, and replaces candles, sprays, and wasp traps. That is the information the tag omits. The correct move: grow mentha. X. piperita, in containers only. Zones 3 through 9. Crush leaves before sitting outside. Menthol concentration peaks in new growth mid-morning. Bottom line: mentha X piperita. In containers, targets mosquitoes, flies, and wasps. In a pot, it is a free, perpetual 3-target defense. Peppermint handles 3 insect targets across nearly every climate zone. For paper wasp control with documented compound specificity, the next plant has Society of Chemical Industry research behind it and stays off most shelves. Plant 10, pennyroyal, the liability misunderstanding that keeps the right plant off shelves. Mentha pelagium. The mistake: conflating essential oil toxicity with whole plant safety. Pennyroyal essential oil contains pelargone at 80 to 92% and is documented toxic when ingested. That made nurseries deeply reluctant to stock it. What the liability concern erases: whole plant external use carries no documented toxicity concern. The Society of Chemical Industry published research documenting pennyroyal's specific deterrent action against paper wasps. That data does not reach gardeners because the plant rarely reaches shelves. Picture this. You have paper wasps building under your eaves every summer. You buy yellow jacket traps and apply perimeter sprays year after year. The pennyroyal that addresses that specific wasp species with documented precision is not at the nursery. The nursery carries peppermint, spearmint, chocolate mint, not pennyroyal. The essential oil study scared the retail category, and the plant disappeared with no distinction made between oil concentration and whole plant use. The suppression angle: liability avoidance collapsed knowledge of an effective plant into retail absence. The correct move: source mentha pelagium from specialty herb nurseries. Zones 6 through 9, containers or contained beds. Do not ingest. Use externally. Dried leaves around wasp active areas. Keep away from pets. Bottom line: mentha pelagium has documented paper wasp deterrence and stays off retail shelves due to oil toxicity conflated with whole plant use. The distinction matters. Pennyroyal addresses paper wasps with documented precision. Now the 2 plants where commercial substitution is most directly harmful, beginning with the actual industrial source of the citronella in every candle you have ever bought. Plant 11, lemongrass, the citronella source the industry underexplains. Cymbopogon citratus. The culinary lemongrass in every Thai and Vietnamese kitchen, also documented to produce citronellal, geraniol, and alpha-pinene at concentrations delivering 9 to 11 hours of mosquito protection in PLOS 1 documented trials. No citronella candle approaches that figure. The plant the industry extracts from outperforms every product that industry makes from it. Picture this. You grow lemongrass for cooking. Year 1, you use it in curries. Year 2, it expands. Year 3, you have a 3-foot architectural grass, and you are still buying citronella candles. The plant contains the same compounds at higher concentrations than the candles you buy. The tag said culinary grass. It did not say 9 to 11 hours. The suppression angle: lemongrass, as a repellent source that outperforms commercial citronella, generates 0 ongoing purchases from that category. The framing is commercial, not botanical. The correct move: Cymbopogon citratus in zones 9 through 11 as a perennial. Zones 7 and 8, in containers overwintered indoors. Full sun, regular water. Crush outer stalks before sitting outside. Bottom line: Cymbopogon citratus delivers 9 to 11 hours of documented protection from the same compounds the commercial citronella industry depends on. Lemongrass delivers 9 to 11 documented hours from the citratus source compound. The final plant is where commercial substitution does its most direct damage. Most gardeners asking for citronella grass never receive it. Plant 12. True citronella grass and the fake plant the industry sells instead. Cymbopogon nardus, the plant from which commercial citronella is produced globally for over 100 years. 9 to 11 hours of documented complete protection. Not the plant most garden centers give you when you ask for citronella. Pelargonium citrosum is what they sell, a geranium hybrid marketed as the citronella plant. American Museum of Natural History research documented it as ineffective as a mosquito repellent. Multiple independent studies confirmed this. It does not produce citronellol at repellent concentrations. It smells vaguely of citronella when crushed and produces negligible volatile output at rest. Picture this. You ask specifically for a citronella plant. The garden center gives you Pelargonium citrosum, lemon-scented in a nice pot. Year 1, you place it near the patio. It does nothing measurable. Year 2, you try 2 plants. Same result. You conclude citronella plants do not work and go back to buying candles. You were never given the plant that works. Cymbopogon nardus was not on that shelf, and the name overlap was not an accident. The suppression angle. Pelargonium citrosum sells in high volumes and photographs beautifully. Cymbopogon nardus is a large grass requiring more space. The profitable substitution is the ornamental with the misleading name, not the plant that ends the need for citronella candles. The correct move: source Cymbopogon nardus specifically. Zones 10 and 11 as a perennial, zones 7 through 9 in large containers overwintered above 7 degrees Celsius. Full sun, regular water. Bottom line, Cymbopogon nardus is the real plant. Pelargonium citrosum is the substitution. If a garden center sells you a citronella plant in a small pot, it is not Cymbopogon nardus. Know the species name before you buy. The principle behind every plant on this list is the same. Nature built the solution before the commercial industry built the problem. Documented biochemistry, university extension trials, peer-reviewed receptor studies. None of it ends up on nursery tags because the tag is a sales tool. The names to carry with you: 3 pots of Genovese and Triangle, Nepeta cateria, not catmint, hidcote, or grosso, lavender in lean soil, Tanacetum coccineum, not Chrysanthemum morifolium, and Cymbopogon nardus, not Pelargonium citrosum. Pick the one plant that addresses your most immediate problem, source the cultivar name, and order from a specialty nursery rather than a big box flat. The name is the entire difference. Like this video if it closed a gap you did not know existed. Subscribe so this research keeps reaching you before your next garden center trip. Hit the bell. Share with one gardener who is still buying bug spray every summer. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and which plant you are sourcing first. Hype this so it reaches the next gardener before they waste another summer. Go plant something that does not need you to keep buying.